What up friends, I'm Rob Chapman. I've been demonstrating guitars for 18 years and I realised rather worryingly that over just the 18 years of demonstration, I've played roughly 4,000 guitars. And I recently pulled this out of this corner over here. A few things struck me. I think this might piss off a few people, but I just want to be honest with you because I think this is kind of useful information. And let me know in the comment section below if you agree or disagree with what I have to say. And please bear in mind, I own a guitar company, and so it's in my interest really financially to be telling you one set of truths in order for you to buy my guitars. And what I'm going to tell you is probably quite counterintuitive. This is a reasonably affordable guitar, or at least it was, oh my God, 10 years ago maybe. It was made in Korea at the time. That was a reasonably affordable place to make guitars. Yeah, it's got Duncans, it's got Wilkinson bridge, it's got the basic bits and bobs, but it was an affordable guitar. And man, I mean, it just sounds amazing. I mean, what's not to like? It sounds like an absolute rock machine. And the thing is, when I'm engaging with this guitar, there are a few things that are a lot more important than the obvious parts that we normally pay credence to. So this is what I've learned from playing over 4,000 guitars and owning a guitar company that manufactures and sells guitars globally. The price that you pay for a guitar is not indicative of how good the guitar will be. I'm sorry, I know this is going to annoy some people. I'm just being honest with you. In fact, the price doesn't always have a lot to do with the quality or even the materials of the guitar. It has a lot to do with the relationship you have and the agreement you have with, from the brand to the distribution, if there is one, from the distribution to the dealer, the import duties, the taxes, the factory, whether you own a factory, whether you are OEM through a factory or ODM. So all these relationships take up some of the money. You've probably heard about this before. And the resulting, in America you call it the MAP, minimum advertised price, retail point, is deduced psychologically from an evaluation of all of the different prices in that chain of financial consequence. Sounds horrible, doesn't it? So your, $12.99 guitar, the guitar doesn't cost $12.99. All those relationships add up to equal $12.99. And I know firsthand, having worked with big guitar, that the retail point that is set on some of the product is just whatever we think we can get away with. It's not set to we want 25% or 30% profit on the product at all. That's not how it works. They just set a price point that they feel will work and they'll get traction and sales. So the price isn't relative or relevant to the product in many instances. Okay, I know I'm going to summon the tone wood militia here, but aside from the wood argument, the materials that your guitar is made from make a difference. They make a difference. I don't care, they make a difference. Not just the woods, the bridge, the way the pickups are manufactured. Are they waxed? Are they lacquered? What's the crack? What's the nut made of? The resonating points. What is everything made from? It's a physics system. This isn't just my belief. This is the belief of practically every pickup manufacturer that I ever talk to and work with. They have a vested interest in just selling you the pickup does all the work. It doesn't, I'm sorry. And that's the opinion of practically every professional guitar player that I know, including Guthrie Govan, Phil X, Gus G, Joe Satriani, everybody. They all think the materials make a difference. I'm not saying that it makes a tremendously massive difference and it's the most important part of what makes a guitar work, because it's not. But the materials make a difference in the way it feels and the way it sounds. All right, this one's this one's tough. Vintage guitars, of which I have been privileged to play an awful lot of, like, mortgage guitars, you know, fretted Americana, whether it's at Guitar Center, Andertons, all these different places that I've had this incredible privilege to play these amazing pieces of art, some really famous ones, you know. Vintage guitars predominantly were not manufactured by luthiers. There weren't many luthiers. They were made by artisans, by craftsmen. In many instances, people were hired from the manufacturing of furniture from other industries, automotive industries. They weren't people that played guitar, and they weren't luthiers. I'm not saying all of them, but a lot of them were not. And so they built guitars differently. In many instances, they built them incorrectly. I'm sorry, it's the truth. There were certain areas of design, I don't want to get into nitty-gritty because it will just cause a huge, big argument, and there's going to be anyway. But there were certain areas of design that were just wrong, mathematically and ergonomically. And nowadays, modern guitars are a lot better. Now it's just common sense, isn't it? I mean, we've come a long way. If you look at anything from the 40s, 50s and 60s and compare it to the equivalent product nowadays, you would say, well, of course, the product nowadays is better. I'm not saying there isn't a magic in vintage guitars from the seasoned materials over time, the love they poured into the instruments, they made them in smaller quantities, but also a lot of variability. A lot of these products were not the same day after day after day because they were building them by hand in many instances. Modern guitars are made better than vintage guitars. I still want to own vintage guitars. I know it's a stupid year because I was born in 75, but I want a 75 Tele, Les Paul and Strat, that's my goal. But modern guitars are better. Honestly, from a guy who's played a lot of incredible vintage, you know, fretless wonders and crazy stuff, and high-end, you know, even medium stuff. I've played guitars that were manufactured, you know, 6 years ago that retailed for maybe $300 that played better than guitars that were vintage and cost $500,000. This is a very subjective one, but I absolutely stand by it. Shoot me down if you don't think this is true. But feel is almost, in some cases, more important than tone with a guitar. Let me justify that. I think a lot of people will chase, oh, it's got the Fishman whatever, or it's got the new special bridge that always stays in tune, ever tune, or it's got, you know, the whatever blue steel thing, or they look for spec and they're shopping for spec, a bit like when you're speccing out, you know, a new Mac or a car or something, and they'll buy based upon the perceived quality from the specification, but they won't buy it based upon feel. Now that's difficult on the internet because you buy a guitar by the way you look at it. We all know that. I've proved that a million times, well, not a million times, but 4 or 5 times over. We have a thunderstorm. The gods are angered. I've done a lot of these blindfold challenges showing that guitars that don't need to be expensive can be really good, and that the brand gives you this perception of how good something will be, which is just not true. We should all shop for guitars like that. It's really down to the feel. When you pick up a guitar and start playing it, if it has that feel that it's giving back to you, a certain resonance in the hand, it just sits perfectly, then that's the guitar for you. And you can shape the tone later, swap out the pickups, change the amplifier, alter the pedals, whatever you need to do, change the strings even. You know, go from 8s to 11s and tell me if it feels and sounds different. But the feel is the first step. If you get the feel right, the rest of it can be altered. Sometimes you just got to change your speaker cabinet, you know? And the thing is, feel is completely subjective. What's the right feel? Do you know what I mean? It's a difficult one to answer because everyone wants a different kind of feel. I like quite a high action. I don't know whether you'll see this. If I might face it, might work there. I like quite a high action. I like a bit of relief. I like thick strings. Some people want to use 9-gauge strings, a completely flat neck, and a very low action. But neither one is right. It's the feel that works for you. But in my opinion, feel is the starting point, not the specification and the tone, which obviously we mean timbre. Okay, I'll give you one more. And this one again is subjective, but I think it absolutely stands up. A good setup on an affordable guitar will absolutely destroy an expensive guitar with a bad setup. I've lost count of the number of super affordable guitars that I have taken, set up, restrung, oiled, lubed, tweaked the pickups, done this, done that, and it's suddenly become an absolute player, a complete workhorse, and would be preferable. I'd want to take it out and play it more than something that was 4, 5, 6 times the price. I'll give you an example. This is one that my wife bought when she was a student. It's an absolute sack of shit. We're talking, like, this is something like 80 sterling retail value. I put strings on it, I set it up, I tweaked it, I changed it. It's a player now, it really is. You know, if I changed the brand here and convincingly sold you that it was some kind of high-end brand and you played it, you would probably think, oh yeah, no, it feels really nice. We've just been programmed. And this happens all the time in every industry. We've been programmed to believe brand is better. And we've been programmed to believe origin of manufacturing is better. And all this stuff that just is not true. It's so subjective. And it's very little to do with the price or the specification of a guitar. Have a great day. Take it easy. Chappers out.